Bernie, Lee Atwater is George Bush's campaign manager. When you mentioned the fact that he's from South Carolina, he's very much responsible for engineering that victory there. But let's talk about tonight. The numbers as we see them coming in, Lee, not just winning in the case of the vice president, but winning very big in most states. Many places running up a majority. Expectations, you like to play things low. Did you really think it would be this big?
Well, I tell you something. This is a tremendous personal victory for the vice president. He's gotten out in the last 3 or 4 weeks and taken his campaign directly to the people. He went to New Hampshire, campaigned from one end of that state to the other, got with the people, talked about the issues, gave a direct message, and won very handily. Then he did the same thing in South Carolina, and now the same thing in Super Tuesday. I'm convinced that the vast majority of people in the Republican Party think George Bush ought to be the nominee of the party. And now that he's gotten out and campaigned directly, talked about the issues, and talked about the reasons he wants to be president, people have responded overwhelmingly. And I'm not surprised, but I'm awful proud of him. I think he's done a tremendous job. Without detracting from the vice president's obvious apparent victory here, did the other candidates, in effect, self-destruct? Did they fall short of their abilities? This really isn't the night to talk about the other candidates. This is the vice president's night, and I think it's a real tribute to him because he went out there and took his campaign to the people, and he talked issues, and I think he did do a better job of staying on a positive, upbeat note and communicating directly with voters on issues, on things they care about, on the economic issues, on the fact that inflation is down, interest rates are down, taxes are down, and unemployment's down, and on the fact that he's the best candidate to keep a strong national defense, but also to go forward with this most important treaty with the Russians. The horse race from here on is for delegates. After tonight, do you have any assessment of how many delegates you will have of the 1,100 odd you need? This is just a guess, and I usually don't do this because you wind up surprised. I think the vice president will have over 600 delegates after tonight, which is a healthy chunk of delegates. And you're right, Charles. From tonight on, it's delegates first and everything else second. Well, when you move on to Illinois, do you have the chance to lock the door on Bob Dole there? I don't think so, because there's just still a lot of delegates out there. But I do think that I would certainly hate to be in Senator Dole's shoes after tonight, and certainly if he loses Illinois. But I tell you something I found out. The second you start resting on your laurels, and the second you get overconfident, you start getting in trouble. And I learned that lesson. You're not going to let the vice president sit back then? Well, but the point is I learned that lesson from the vice president. So the vice president's not going to sit back, and he's not going to let us on the staff sit back. Bob Dole has asked for a series of debates in Illinois leading up to next week's primary, and you've turned him down. What's wrong with debating him? Well, I think nothing's wrong with debating. As a matter of fact, the vice president took the lead in debates this year. He accepted 5 debates before anybody else accepted any of them. So why not accept a few more? Well, because in this instance, it's simply the other guy's campaign strategy. Here we are on the 11th hour. Bob Dole is desperate, and he's doing the oldest campaign stunt in the book. He's trying to get the vice president to draw a crowd for him. I mean, his support's sagging, and we've got a campaign plan in Illinois, and the vice president's already got a schedule, so there just doesn't seem to be any point to start participating in the other guy's schedule. Now, Senator Dole, one last point. But go ahead. One last point, and that is Senator Dole passed up a great opportunity here in Texas. He did 2 things at once. One is he wrote off Texas, and secondly, he ducked in a debate he had already committed to down here in Texas about 3 weeks ago. So it really doesn't make any sense to fit our campaign into Senator Dole's last gasp strategy on debates. We got to go. Can you give me a yes or no? Will we ever see another Super Tuesday again, or is it a bad idea? I think it was a great idea for the vice president, a great idea for the Republican Party. So I imagine the Democrats are going to try to figure out a way to get out of this mess that they got themselves into. All right. Lee Atwater, campaign manager for Vice President George Bush. Back to you, Mary Alice.
Thanks, Charles. Lee Atwater might be quite right. The Democratic Party will be assessing very carefully what they intended for Super Tuesday and what did not happen.